asking why. So Jennifer, explain to us the thought process here of Watts. Why would someone in his position go on TV and do this?
Well, honestly, it's because it's what's expected. When your family goes missing, then that is what is expected, that you'll go to the media, you'll work with police, you'll be out there in front of the cameras saying, please, 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 pleading to bring them back. And I mean, I agree with the assessment that he was very devoid of emotion, very first person oriented. And you just watch him and you just absolutely don't believe anything he's saying. And I thought it was very clear in this particular instance.
Well, I want to move on to another dramatic moment in this case, and there are a ton of them. Chris's initial alibi was that Shanann and the kids left and disappeared while he was at work. But what Chris didn't realize was that his neighbor's security camera caught him loading his truck at 5:27 a.m. He's the only one on tape leaving that house, so it disproves his story. Now, I want you to watch carefully to Chris's reaction when his neighbor plays the footage, not just for him, but also a police officer that was there as well.
What else can I do with this?
You think he looks nervous? Now here's something interesting. When the neighbor shut down the replay, his TV went back to a normal broadcast. But I want you to look very carefully at what appears on the screen, and maybe more importantly, what Chris says.
Diesel.
You're good.
Yeah, I thought nothing.
Nothing for the rest of the day.
No, that's it.
She's pregnant as well.
How far along?
15 weeks.
Now he should mention that Shanann was pregnant. Investigators say that in that 26-minute period, he was loading the truck up with Shanann's body and his two daughters. Jennifer, back to you. What is your reaction to his reaction?
Well, his reaction, I just sort of goes, I think it was like, oh my gosh, I've been caught. That's what that looked like to me. And I think people forget that in this day and age, there are video cameras everywhere. Your neighbors have them in their doorbells. They have them security cameras. They're everywhere. So I think that he was experiencing a moment of, oh my gosh, I've been caught. And wow, how stupid was that I did that in front of all my neighbors and all their cameras. It was a really telling moment. And the baby on the screen, oh my gosh, that is heart-wrenching.
Heart-wrenching. And again, the neighbor even said to the officer that he seemed that Chris was being very suspicious. Let's move on to August 15th. So at this point, the investigation is really heating up. And Chris has told law enforcement that he doesn't know where his family is. He also denies having an affair, even though a search of his computer and phone would show otherwise. But the investigators then ask Chris to come down to the police department, and he agrees to a polygraph test. So how'd he do? Watch.
So it was completely clear that you were not honest during the testing, and I think you already know that. You did not pass the polygraph test.
Okay.
Okay. So now we need to talk about what actually happened. And I feel like you're probably ready to do that.
I didn't lie to you on that polygraph, I promise. Chris, I never stop. It's time.
Even though he's caught lying, he's still adamant that he doesn't know what happened to his wife and kids. But when investigator Tammy Lee, who you just saw there, asks if maybe Shanann hurt the girls, Chris then asks to speak to his father, Ronnie, who was in the other room. Then again, what we do know is he kind of picked on Agent Tammy Lee's comment about, did Shanann have something to do with this, and jumped with that. We'll later learn that might not be the full story. Now, Jennifer, let me go to you. He failed this polygraph. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I always find it fascinating that people take polygraphs when they're clearly guilty. Polygraphs are set up to measure things that you can't control, like your respiration, your heart rate, your body temperature. And everything you can do to try to beat a polygraph, we've come up with a way to keep you from being able to do so. So it always surprises me. I just think it's so incredibly stupid to think that you can pass a polygraph when you're clearly lying. So I thought this was an interesting choice by him. And I thought it was interesting they brought the father in on the interview. I've never seen that done, and that was I think really effective.
There's so many moments in this case when you kind of see Chris Watts caught like a deer in headlights. He can't believe he's in this position, and yet he tried to be the innocent person, always being there, always explaining, always having an answer for everything. But as you can see, it doesn't really work out well for him. That interview ultimately led to his arrest. But when we come back, we have a lot to get into. We're going to get into exactly the moment when Chris Watts finally admitted that he killed his kids.